Hey, there you are. Welcome back, episode 17. Today, my guest is Josh Stotler of Oak Creek Guitars in San Diego. Josh is a one-man shop who does it all, builds, repairs, and does some beautiful inlay work. Enjoyed my conversation with Josh? Please like and subscribe, and if you know anyone I should be talking to, please send them over to secretguitarclub@gmail.com, and we'll talk to you on the other side. Hey, Josh, good morning. Thank you very much for joining the club. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So you're Oak Creek Guitars in San Diego, is that right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm a one-man shop focusing on custom builds, inlay, restorations, repair work. So do it all.
Yeah, I spent some time on your website, oakcreekguitars.com, and it looks like just that. You do it all. So what came first for you? Looks like you're a pretty accomplished woodworker. Woodworking or guitars? Have you always been interested in guitars?
Oh man, they actually came hand in hand. So a
Okay.
lot of my friends were getting into playing music around junior high, high school, and couldn't afford a guitar. So I decided, hey, I have zero knowledge of woodworking. I have zero knowledge of luthiery. I'm going to build a guitar. And when you're 14, nobody's going to tell you no. So I built a bass in my washroom, using hand tools and I would go to Guitar Center and take measurements and
Oh,
take a
neat.
picture, and they would shoo me out sometimes. But at the end of it, at 14, I had a working viola bass. I liked Paul McCartney's guitar shape, so I built a viola bass out of pine and miscellaneous guitar parts I got at secondhand shops, and it worked. I played it at Battle of the Bands that year, and it was great. I still have it. It doesn't have a truss rod or anything that would keep it stable, but I don't keep it tuned up. But I still have that guitar, and that's where it all started. So I have still never taken a woodworking class. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah,
So all self-taught. I don't want to age you, but was that first bass build before the internet, before you had all access to everything
yeah,
that we have
yeah,
now?
absolutely. So that was before you can get on the internet and look at plans and look at pictures and all this. So it was all absolutely just hard-headed trial and error and figuring it out myself. So
That's
pre-internet,
awesome.
yeah, it was thinking about it now. That's kind of ambitious.
It must feel like a long time ago, and seeing how far you've come with your current builds and all the stuff that you do looks just amazing. So take me right through it. What was your next build, and what was the progression like for you through high school and after school?
So yeah, there was a big gap between that first one. So I built my first one, and everybody knew about it because everybody's like, "How's it going? How's it coming along? Is it going to be done for Battle of the Bands?" So it was kind of a big deal, for
Yeah.
me at the time. It kind of opened up that path of woodworking and guitars, and I loved it. I was hooked right from the start. Um,
Yep.
so that gap came between high school and the time I moved to Germany. So there was, probably a 15-year gap. Um,
Yeah. Life happened.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there was a big gap, and then when I got to Germany, I was a spouse living unemployed, and there was a big wood shop there in Wiesbaden. We're in Wiesbaden, Germany, outside of Frankfurt, and the army had a huge wood shop, and I went there, and I was
Yeah.
like, yes, yes, this is good news. So I started volunteering there, and people would bring in guitars and bring in furniture to be fixed. And being a military community, there's a lot that gets broken and moves. So I was able to take in guitars and do paint repairs and broken headstocks, and just kind of little by little, word got out that hey, there's this guy, in Wiesbaden that can fix guitars. And between the repairs and helping out in the shop, I would do a build. So I bent my first sides in Germany. I put together my first semi-acoustic hollow body electric, and that was really my first test bed for hey, do I really like this?
Mm-hmm.
And I did. So so
Yeah.
I built I think five complete guitars in my 7 years in Germany,
Wow.
and learned a lot while there. So
That's awesome. And Did you work with anyone there locally, or again, all self-taught?
So yeah, it was a lot of book reading.
Yeah.
There, I think in the luthier community, there's the same 5 books that everybody kind of
Mhm.
leans on, and one that I absolutely cut my teeth on was Larry Robinson's The Art of Inlay.
Yeah.
And there's also Craig Lavin, who I looked up to. So there's all these amazing, amazing inlay artists, and I liked that. So building guitars was kind of my way of getting to do inlay. So so
Yeah. I interviewed Craig Lavin a few episodes ago, and I'm just fascinated by the whole inlay process. I learned a lot about it when I talked to him. And looking at your work, it's just so intricate and so beautiful. That Johnny Cash piece was super cool. Do you have to take the frets off when you do the routing on that?
so yeah, all the frets come off.
Yeah.
To lay down the routing because there's just no way to do that with the frets on because each one I'll actually inlay if a letter goes across a fret I'll have to cut
Yeah.
the pearl, recut the fret slot.
Yeah. Oh, I see.
So yeah,
Gotcha.
it's tedious when they cross fret lines, but
Yep.
it's fun, it's challenging, and with inlay, you look at Larry Robinson, you look at Craig Lavin, you look at all these amazing artists. And there's so many different ways. There's no one right way to do it.
Yeah.
That's what I love about it. You can inlay anything you want, really. I've inlaid Monopoly tokens. I've
I
inlaid
saw that.
oil. I mean, you name it. I've inlaid some weird stuff. Turquoise rocks. I use crushed dust. So it's kind of wherever you want to draw the line for yourself. So I
Yeah,
like
I saw that Monopoly piece, the little car. Did you have to like grind the back of that down to make it
yeah,
flat?
I cut that in half with a
Cut
pencil.
that, yeah,
And
yeah,
ground it down so it still looked all right, but it was still pretty darn deep.
yeah, yeah. That's really cool. Very unique. One of the other pieces I saw that was amazing, kind of blew me away, was that astronaut piece that you did. Tell me about that piece and the event that you did that for.
So I was lucky enough to go to the Apollo 9 50th anniversary gala here in San Diego, and there were the original 3 astronauts from Apollo 9, and also Gene Kranz and some of the other backroom guys, flight directors, and I love space and flight. So I got to go to this thing, and everybody was walking up to Gene Kranz, who was flight director. Most of you probably know him from Apollo 13 movie.
Yeah,
So I was talking to him, and everybody was walking up saying, "Hey, I work for SpaceX, or I work for Collins Aerospace." Or I walked up and said, "I build custom guitars." And he leans in, he goes, "Really?" He goes, "Have you ever done an Apollo guitar?" I said, "No, but that would be amazing." So about a week later, he asked me for my card, and I gave it to him. A week later, I get a call, and it's Jim Lovell from Apollo 13.
yeah,
And he goes, "I heard about your project. Who's it for?" And I said, "Ooh, it's not even a project yet, and I guess it would be for me." And he goes, "No,
yeah,
no, no." He goes, "If it's for somebody, I'm on board." I'm like, okay. So I started looking around, and only one place came to mind: the San Diego Air and Space Museum, which I've been lucky enough to go to since I was a kid. I used to go to field trips there. So I contacted their president and said, "Hey, if I build an Apollo themed guitar, would you display it?" He said, "Can you come in tomorrow?" so, so that night I drew up a set of plans, isometric drawings, front, back, side, and took it in, and they were very pleased. So they said, "Absolutely, but we don't want to borrow it." I was going to loan it to them. They said, "If you want one, make two." so
yeah,
so I made 2 of these Apollo guitars. It's the most inlay I've ever done on any instrument. Around the edges, it has all the mission patches from all the Apollo missions, and they're actually in dyed veneer, so there's no paint on that guitar at all. And most people will think it's a sticker.
yeah. It's a really great piece that you should be proud of, and that's a really great story to go along with it
Thank you.
too.
Yeah, that opened up a lot of. I'm on my 7th space themed guitar at the moment.
Hmm.
It's kind of just snowballed within the space community, which is a dream for me because I get to hang out with people that have walked on the moon and worked on, Mars rover projects, and it's just I get to geek out pretty hard. So.
Yeah, and that's just like all this stuff, that's a great little niche within a niche. Yeah, and I'm sure it's keeping you busy.
Absolutely, and that's I was lucky enough to sit down with Bob Taylor when I was first starting to do guitars full time.
Hmm.
That building guitars, that's a tough industry.
Yeah.
Producing a production line of guitars, that's tough, and he says so in his book. He said you have a great niche. The inlay is amazing. He goes, shop that.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I took a book of my work to NAM and just showed it around. I showed it to Kamaka uh, ukuleles. I showed it to Deering banjos and Paul Reed Smith. He happened to open my book right to a page where I inlaid a dragon on the full fretboard of one of his guitars. So
Oh, wow.
that was perfect. He said, "Here's my email address." So
No way.
little things like that, and getting to talk to Bob Taylor. I mean, who I grew up in El Cajon, so they're right there.
Yeah.
They've always been a mainstay. So it just kind of blows my mind. So
Yeah.
it's really taken on a life of its own, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, that's cool. As they say, the riches are in the niches, right?
That's right. Yep.
So tell me about your business, Oak Creek Guitars.
So yeah, I'm still a one man shop, but
Hmm.
I do it all: repairs, restorations, neck resets. I mean, you name it.
What keeps you busy? You got a lot of repair
Oh
business?
man, custom inlay work. Actually, I get
Oh, cool.
a lot of requests, probably two a week. Hey, I have a guitar and it's kind of boring. I'd like to put something on it. Or I just took one in that's a fiance who wants their wedding date and their initials on it, and it's going to be a gift for her future husband on their wedding day. So. I mean,
Yeah.
what a bitchin' gift to have a custom Telecaster with inlay on it. So, I like doing those things that mean a lot to the person.
It's interesting. I never really considered doing inlay on a guitar after it's been built. I always just kind of assumed that all the inlay is done during the original build.
Exactly, yeah, and that's rare actually. If you get a guitar that comes out of the shop with inlay on it, you've got some money because that's coming from Fender and Corona or Paul Reed Smith's custom shop. So
Yeah.
if you're like the rest of us, you buy a guitar off the wall,
Hmm.
and it's pretty plain. It's got fret dots or squares or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's quite easy to replace those. Um, I've inlaid headstocks, I've made custom pick guards, and just little things like that. I do a lot of leather work that has actually become a staple in my shop now. Is the leather tooling.
For straps?
For straps, I've done pick guards. I've done leather
Hmm.
inlays. I did a tribute Telecaster to Waylon Jennings, and it had his Flying W inlaid in the back in tooled leather. So that was a fun piece, and it was
Now, that's completely different then. I mean, it's sort of similar in that you're creating a design and a surface, but that's a very different process than inlay.
yeah, yeah. It's a different process, but inlay is inlay when it comes to actually
Hmm.
putting it in the guitar. So whether you're routing out a cavity for inlaying a military challenge coin or mother of pearl or whatever leather, it's all the same. You route out the cavity, make sure it fits perfect, glue it in, and I don't think there's anything I've turned down yet as far as weird requests. So I've
That's
been
great.
a lot of strange stuff.
Do you have any pieces nearby that you could show us?
I do. So this piece here is a super jumbo
Oh my
acoustic.
gosh.
So this was actually a walnut tree that was on my grandparents' property, California black walnut. It was killed in the 2003 cedar fire and stood as just a trunk for a couple of years.
Wow.
And you can see where the bugs ate up the wood. So I left
Yeah.
it. Some I epoxied in, and some I left open. There's actually quite a big
Oh,
hole.
I see that.
So
Perfect spot.
that was fun to bend. Yeah. so
Yeah.
um, so yeah, this was a tree that was on my grandparents' property. I harvested it, dried it, and then turned it into wood suitable to make a guitar. And then my grandpa had a pet peacock before the fires, so this is the theme here. So we have a very intricately laid peacock feather, and those are all individual hand cut pieces
Wow.
of
That's
mother
amazing.
and abalone. And then on the front, it also continues the peacock theme with the feathers and the bridge, hand cut brass pickguard, And then
Wow.
on the headstock, see if I can get this. There we go. So
Mm.
there's probably 150 individual pieces in this peacock here, and each little piece in the head. So it takes a while, but this one was special to me, so it took over 10 years to build, just
Wow.
between other
Yeah.
projects and when I had time. So I was finally able to put it in the San Diego County Fair's Design and Wood competition last year, and it won first place. So I'm real happy about that.
Not surprised. I don't think I've ever seen a brass pickguard before, on an acoustic anyway.
Yeah, I that was the last thing I had to do, and I kept playing with different material, and nothing looked right, and plastic
Hmm.
looked cheap, and yeah, I just was kind of at my wits' end, and I was rifling through some things, and I found this piece of brass, and I set it down, and I just happened to set it down on a piece of wood that was this color walnut, and I went, huh,
Yeah.
all right, so. So yeah, each hole here had to be individually drilled and then cut out with the saw, and then you take the blade off and go to the next one. So it's a labor of love, because anything like this now, I would really not recommend, because there's no money in this, right?
Yeah, right, right. It's super attractive though, just gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, that's my favorite guitar right now, and
Yeah.
that's my daily player. So I'm lucky enough to
Oh, cool.
something like that for just tooling around in the living room here.
I love that headstock shape too. Is that a little moon on the top left corner there? What is that?
Well, so yes, I drew out hundreds of shapes.
Oh, it's your logo there.
That's
Yeah.
the logo. So yeah, usually the logo goes here, and that's a oak tree and a creek. So Oak Creek Guitars, but the S,
Yeah.
the creek actually makes an S for my last name, Stotler. So it's
Cool.
all kind of wrapped up together.
That's really attractive. I love the way that looks.
Thank you.
So how do you go about like marketing yourself? Do you need to market, or is it kind of word of mouth? You got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff coming in through that.
That thankfully I don't have to market very hard. I have an Instagram with I upload pictures, not as much as I should, but I
Hmm.
do upload projects, and thankfully just word of mouth from customers. I've had customers for years that have come back and actually bought guitars because of what I can do. So I have one customer in Arizona that is a big collector of. Oh, I'm spacing out on his name now. But he collects these guitars, and he buys things just because I can inlay this on the
Oh, wow.
whatever. So yeah, it's a big compliment. So
Yeah, that's really
yeah,
cool.
I don't pay any money to advertise. I have good reviews on Google, and I do
Yeah.
ask people when they come into my shop, "Hey, where'd you find me?" And they said, "Oh man, I typed it in and you came up." So
Perfect.
something's going right in the algorithm. So,
Perfect. Well, what are you working on now?
oh, I'm actually not building any guitars right now because I'm building my new shop. So
Oh,
I have
cool. Nice.
seriously outgrown my original shop, and now I'm building a 450 square foot shop on the back of our property. So
Perfect.
I am a framer at the moment, not a.
That's great. So tell me about your shop. If you could give me like kind of a virtual walkthrough, what kind of equipment do you have and
So
what's your
yeah,
setup like?
I started out real basic. So I've obviously, like everybody that works in a field, have accumulated nicer and better tools over the years. But I started out with Harbor Freight stuff and sanders and random orbitals and hand tools, but I've grown my shop. I have 220 bandsaw, big resaw bandsaw, big cabinet table saw because I
Hmm.
mill most of my own wood. So
Nice.
I'll buy billets and blanks of walnut and then resaw them into sides and tops and backs. So
Wow.
there is that side of the shop, the big woodworking remilling side, and then there's also the fine work where I have Fordham multi tools for cutting real tiny. It's like a tiny router,
Hmm.
like a Dremel, but on steroids, something your dentist would use.
Kind of like on a stand, right, for
On
the
a
inlay stuff.
stand with a it's corded, the motor hangs, and I do
Yeah.
the tool. I've gotten into a lot of rasps, files, and spoke shaves. A lot of new hand tool stuff.
Hmm.
It's tried and true. I've learned things. I'm part of the San Diego Fine Woodworkers Association, and in that they're a huge base of knowledge for pretty much anything you want to learn. So I
Yeah.
actually paid to take a class with one of the guys, built a spoke shave with him that
Hmm.
was perfectly designed for taking down necks. So that has saved me a lot of time. It's kind of a mindless Zen thing when you're getting good curls off the neck and you're just sitting there,
Yeah.
with music going, and it's perfect. So yeah, from all the way up to big 220-volt machines, all the way down to the smallest little finger plane. Um,
I,
I'm
I was
lucky.
going to ask you for your table saw ripping those big billets. Is that must be a 5 horsepower or?
So yeah, it's actually an 8 horsepower. So I upgraded. So yeah, there's no bogging down here.
Holy cow,
Yep.
that's amazing.
So yeah, I'm lucky enough to have built quite the luthier tool collection, and it's always growing. It's always changing. I've taken a real hard look at the tools I have laying around, and if it hasn't been used, it's hitting the road. So yeah, I'm
Nice.
really trying to boil it down to exactly what I need for exactly what I'm doing.
What are your favorite woods to work with for both bodies and necks?
Oh, I like walnut.
Hmm.
It's it has so many different variations. I just completed a guitar working with Apollo astronaut Charlie Duke, who walked on the moon on Apollo 16. His neighbor he moved away, but his neighbor was Randy Rogers of the Randy Rogers Band, and he
Mm.
wrote a song called Charlie Duke Took Country Music to the Moon. So he sang that with Robert Earl Keen under the name the Stryker Brothers. So nobody
Cool.
knew who they were at the time, but when they finally figured out that, hey, it was Randy Rogers and Robert Earl Keen, everybody went, "Whoa, okay, what's going on?" So in this
Yeah.
song, it commemorates Charlie Duke taking tapes of country music with him on his trip to the moon. And so Charlie, I've become friends with him over the years, and he said, let's build a guitar for Randy. So he's from South Carolina, so he's got this accent, and he says, "I'll leave the design to you, but let's do something real neat." So I just finished this guitar. I can send you a picture of it if you want to post it.
Yeah.
To really highly figured walnut. I mean, just the most rippliest walnut you've ever seen, and it looks like koa. But
Wow.
I use that, and then some really big curl redwood for the top.
Hmm.
And I thought it was
Nice.
going to be too much, but when I got them together, I went, "Oh, I want every guitar to look like this."
Yeah.
So it was real eye catching, and I did a lot of inlay on that, and I actually got to inlay a piece of netting that was part of the lunar module. So when they were on the moon, the door was open. It had the vacuum of space. It had moon dust. So it's a very neat little piece
Yeah.
that I got to put in there. But yeah, so walnuts. I like koa.
Hmm.
I I have the luxury of picking my wood for each build, so I don't have a big shop full of you know backlog of wood. I'm pretty much shopping for the exact build I'm doing at the moment. So
Gotcha.
I'm not
Gotcha.
picky.
Now, how about any other woodworking? Is there anything else you do besides guitars?
Oh, I kind of do what comes along. I've done some jewelry boxes,
Hmm.
furniture repair, pretty much whatever is a necessity. I do it. I
Yeah.
have I've built stands. When I show my work, they said, "Oh, we want to
Yeah.
show it laying on its side. Can you whip up something real quick?" So I'll build a stand with an adjustable neck holder.
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever comes along, I've built.
Yep. Build, not buy.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. When in doubt, build it stout.